Las Cruces is the city of the crosses, the second largest city in New Mexico and the home of New Mexico State University, founded in 1888, New Mexico's only land-grant university. New Mexico State University began in 1888 as an agricultural college, and now it is a comprehensive institution dedicated to teaching, research, and service at the graduate and undergraduate level. New Mexico State University is the only research-extensive land-grant USA-Mexico border institution classified as Hispanic serving by the federal government. The university also has an extensive international student population from countries in Central America, the Caribbean, South America, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. The university is also home to the state's NASA Space Grant Program. The region features desert mesas, the farmlands of the Rio Grande Valley, and the Organ Mountains, an extension of the Rocky Mountain chain. The total enrollment at New Mexico State University's main campus and branch campuses is approximately 26,000 students. Minority enrollment at the main campus is more than 48%. Obviously, New Mexico State University and Las Cruces have a long, proud history of ethnic traditions. And one would never, ever think that this same university would become a battleground of racial discrimination, retaliation, and wrongful termination. But it has. And it has because of the actions and racist attitudes of a very small group of former New Mexico State University faculty and regents. Even so, that as a result, there has been many major changes at the university. The university president is gone. The Board of Regents president, as well as 2 other regents, are also gone. And a former associate dean are all long gone. Today, the Insider Exclusive goes behind the headlines to get this incredible story of racism and retaliation at one of America's and the Southwest's most prestigious schools, New Mexico State University, as Chris Moody and Judy Fritsch at Moody and Warner fight for social justice for their clients. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive, live from Albuquerque, New Mexico, at the law firm of Moody and Warner. It's my great pleasure to introduce Chris Moody and Judy Fritsch to the show. Welcome to the show. We're going to discuss a case today that has yet to go to trial.
Right.
It's an outrageous case in my mind of racism, discrimination, retaliation, any number of things. The case is Byrd versus the Regents of New Mexico State University, right? Yes. Tell us what our audience needs to know about this case, the real facts of the case.
Well, the bottom line, what people need to know about that case is that there was, I think, outrageous racism at a state university. A minority husband and wife team, faculty, she's African American, he is Hispanic.
What are their names?
Their names are Yelena Byrd and John Moraros.
Mm-hmm.
They were brought in, they got their PhDs at New Mexico State, they were brought in, they'd been teaching, they were converted to regular tenure track faculty, and then shortly after that, within a year of that happening, the hierarchy in the department changed, and the new people did not want them. Racial comments were made. Right. All kinds of things.
Well, let's talk about that, because this case is a public case, right?
Yes.
It's been in the news, and let's talk about specific individuals. A change was made as the department head of an individual by the name of James Robinson, correct?
That's true.
Now, many of the people that we're talking about, and this is what I found this case amazing, they're doctors, and yet their behavior is something you'd expect to find in the schoolyard. So let's name some names. We've got James Robinson. He was the head of the department. He was brought in I think, the fall of 2007. He had an associate dean, Larry Olson, correct?
Right.
What initially happened to incur the wrath of these people towards Byrd and her husband?
I think it was Byrd's and Moraros' success. They were very bright, capable researchers. They
Yeah.
were researching epidemiology, real hard science,
Yeah.
and I think they were doing really significant work. They were getting recognition.
Unfortunately, we can't have Yelena here today, but we do have a video deposition of her making some comments about some of the racist remarks that were made to her. We're going to go to that right now.
These incidents we're talking about with Dr. Olson. Got spring '04, summer '06, spring '07. Are there any others that you can think of?
Other what?
Incidents of racial comments made by Dr. Olson, or racially discriminatory comments?
It would be the between November, December of 2007, after I got back from Seattle, where Dr. Olson was, I think he was leaving for the day, and myself and Dr. John Morales were so happened at the elevator. And the question came up again about the amount of money Dr. Morales and I would be making, and if we totaled both our monies, we were practically making the same amount as he does. And he said that was unfair, and especially to the point where he was still harping on the fact that we should not have accepted the minority incentive. Dr. Olson then continued by saying, well, you accepted the minority incentive, and I know you're not black. You do not speak like a black woman, you do not dress like a black woman, and you're too educated to be black. At that point, I told Dr. Olson, he is wrong. I am African American. And at that point, he turned to Dr. Morales and said, oh, and you saying that you are of Mexican heritage, what is that, an 8th or a 16th? If that makes you a minority, well, my family, my ethnicity or family is from Norway or Sweden, and does that make him a Viking?
Okay. Did you respond to that statement?
That's where I told Dr. Larry Olson that he's wrong. I am African American, and I think that this is the second time he's said that same statement. And quite frankly, I told him I'm getting a bit tired of it, and I am black, Larry.
What happened to Yelena and her husband so they ended up getting terminated?
Well, what happened was that they were doing their PhD research in Seattle, Washington.
Yes.
They traveled back to Las Cruces, and they were to be reimbursed for that travel expense. And Yelena submitted a reimbursement request, and so did John.
Mm-hmm.
So there are two reimbursement requests. There should only have been one. Neither one knew the other one was doing it.
Yeah, and who seized on this so-called fraudulent attempt to deprive the university? I think the expense account was $800. Was
About $800.
Yeah. Who seized on this as an opportunity to terminate them?
During the fall of 2007, Larry Olson was acting as the associate dean, interim dean, while Jeffrey Brandon was gone. He had seized on that issue and had transferred it to the internal audit department at the university. Our information is typically what happens is the professors are brought in,
right,
questioned informally, and nothing much happens when it's revealed to be a mistake.
And yet Dr. Robinson seized on this as an opportunity to oust them, correct?
Robinson and Olson both were
Yeah.
played a part. Yes.
We have a deposition of Dr. Robinson. We invited him to be here. Strange that he didn't show up. Just kidding. But we have a deposition, him addressing, I like to call, Travelgate. Let's go to that right now.
One of the issues that came up, and again, this is a conversation I had with John, because they traveled to Washington for a professional conference, APHA. And in the submission of the travel reimbursement, he submitted two what I call carriage receipts. They weren't taxi receipts. They were for some carriage service. And they were on the same day. And they were for I think $35, $36 each, and they went each way. And I confronted John with this, and I said, you know, you can't submit these because you're in D.C. and you're going out for dinner, and I know the taxi cabs in D.C. are zoned. You could have walked or taken a taxi cab for no more than $5 each way. Why are you spending $35 for a carriage service, and where did you go? And he admitted that it was just an extravagance. And I said, well, then you go ahead and submit one. I'll pay one, but I won't pay both. So these are some of the things that just underlie this. And she, in essence, is a co-conspirator to this.
That's amazing. And it seems that he called an emergency meeting, didn't he?
That's right.
Rather than addressing a simple mistake, an emergency meeting to make sure that they got terminated, correct?
That is correct. He called a meeting of the policy on termination at the university requires that all senior faculty in the department be consulted prior to a termination. Mm-hmm. He brought all the senior faculty in. They were generally positive about Drs. Bird and Moraros' performance. Dr. Robinson did not indicate at that time that there was any intent to terminate. However, the policy required it, so he had to do that within, I believe it was 90 days that were required by the policy.
Yeah, we're also going to introduce another character, in this whole story, the former president of the Board of Regents, Gallagher. And we're going to go to a deposition in a minute about apparently he had made the claim that he had some secret files. This sounds rather childish, to be honest with you. I mean, the president, I went to UCLA. We have a Board of Regents. It's a big university. And I would just never think that, someone would stoop so low to say that they had secret files. What secret files? Let's go to that deposition because I found it extraordinarily interesting. It's unbelievable. Let's do this right now.
And you were also asked about, and you made a statement about New Mexico State University collecting evidence that supported its position vis-a-vis Bird and Moraros and putting them in a file to which no one was privy. Do you recall making any statement about that?
Yes, sir.
And as far as you know, that was occurring during the period of time in which you gave that interview?
That's correct.
New Mexico State was collecting evidence against Bird and Moraros and was putting it in a file. Is that right?
I don't know if I would characterize it as against them. I would characterize it as putting information in the file that would prepare for any sort of litigation.
He also, as well as the former president of the university, accused both Yelena and her husband of plagiarism, right?
That's correct.
And how did they come to this conclusion?
Well, supposedly the president of the university, in an idle moment, was reading their master's theses from 4 years before and noticed some similar language in the two theses in the methodology section. And also he claims now, belatedly, that other professors came to him and indicated that there was plagiarism, and that's what caused him to look.
And this also brought into question the validity of their degrees, right?
That's correct.
There was a claim that they hadn't really gotten their MD degrees from a university in Mexico.
Yeah. Now, one thing that hasn't been mentioned that I saw that started this whole ball of terror starting was that Larry Olson had a bad habit of sending out pornographic emails to many of the faculty members, right?
That is correct.
And
yes.
I think Yelena and her husband objected to this, right?
They did. Dr. Moraros in particular, John in particular, had objected.
And they were told that they needed to get with the program.
Right.
You know, this was okay to do, and what's wrong with you kind of people, right?
Right.
And they used derogatory terms. That's what really started this whole ball of wax moving, isn't it?
In some ways, although I do think that, as Chris has noted, Dr. Olson certainly had some concerns about them being hired, was very concerned when they were hired.
Because of their race?
That is what it appears. And they were very successful as well.
Now, there was a no confidence vote that was taken, correct?
There was a call by Dr. Buckingham for a vote of no confidence. That's
Which
right.
means, for our audience, means what?
Essentially, he was asking that there be a vote by the faculty and that Dr. Robinson be removed as department head, both because of his conduct in terminating John and Yelena, as well as in revealing that information to a group of graduate students.
We have a video deposition of her talking about that. We're going to go to that right now.
They at the highest levels could make a difference if they dealt with these issues and set the agenda for the university.
Were you at that time seeking to have Dr. Robinson removed from his chair position?
No. No.
Well, did you participate in a request for a vote of no confidence?
I supported a no confidence vote against Dr. Robinson, which was put into motion. I did not initiate that, but I supported it once it was in motion.
Okay. So you did want him removed at that point in time?
Yes, at that time, but not. Your question previously was if I wanted him removed when I wrote this letter. I had no intentions of him stepping down or anything like that. But later on, I felt that he was not good for the department. As he was interested in the good of the department, I, as somebody who's been there for a long time, felt that I had a role to play in keeping the integrity and the good name of the department, too.
Let's talk about the retaliation against Dr. Buckingham, please.
Well, a number of things happened there, one of which was the president of the university
Yeah.
came and visited him in his office and threatened him, said he wanted him to investigate the plagiarism that he was claiming John and Yelena had done, and threatened him with coming out with unsavory information about him if he didn't assist with plagiarism, and also shoved him in the chest.
Yeah,
got physical with him. Right.
This is the president of a very large institution,
Yes.
university, threatening him, pushing
Yes.
him in the chest with his finger, and he said if he didn't go along with the program, agree that there was plagiarism, that there would be what done to him?
Well, that they had a stack of documents, a file 3 inches thick of dirt on him.
Yeah.
And they would show, they would prove he was a sexual predator.
Sexual predator. And they had someone that was going to file a sexual harassment lawsuit against him,
Well,
or make a complaint.
Well, shortly after all this happened,
Yeah.
lo and behold, an internal sexual harassment complaint surfaced at the university against him. But it wasn't filed by a student.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. It was filed by a faculty member.
On
right?
behalf of a student.
Yeah, but when they went to the student to take a statement, what happened?
Well, the student wouldn't cooperate,
Because she didn't know anything about it.
presumably. That's our supposition, but she would not cooperate.
This is outrageous. This is outrageous.
The student was a part-time employee of the university, and
Yeah.
they threatened to withhold her check
Right.
if she wouldn't cooperate and file a charge against Buckingham.
We're right now going to go to a video deposition of Dr. Buckingham, and he's going to talk about how the university tried to diminish his reputation. So let's do that right now.
The other thing you list here is that there was a female student who accused you of sexual harassment, right?
That's correct.
And tell me why you think that this is an act of retaliation by the
Well, it's
university.
another form of a witch hunt. I believe that the student was set up. The official complaint came not from the student, but came from a faculty member, which is against university regulations anyway. And I was called in. I said to then Dean Higbee it was false. There's no merit to this complaint. And I felt this is another part of maybe the setup they were trying to do to me, to discredit me. And I was told just that week by Dr. Serrano that the university is coming after me. They're going to discredit you, Bob.
Let's talk about your clients. We want to show the world who they are. I mean, these are hardworking people.
Well, Yelena originally is from an island in the Caribbean. Grew up there and in England. Her family was politically active. I think her grandfather was the first prime minister of this island. You know, she got her education. She met John. They got married. They went to medical school together in Mexico. And then PhDs. They were very interested in diseases that you know, affect poor people and people in border areas. That's why they liked southern New Mexico. They could study diseases in border areas.
What about Dr. Buckingham?
Dr. Buckingham has a long career in public health.
Mm-hmm.
He is originally an epidemiologist, and that is his primary area of interest. He has worked at numerous universities. He's very involved in hospice care, very involved.
Good man.
Very
well
good
respected
man.
in the industry.
Absolutely.
How about Dr. Rao? She's still at New Mexico State University. Right?
She is. She's still a tenured professor
Mm-hmm.
there. She is from India, from southern India. She's you know, worked her way up, got a PhD, got into academia, you know, in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Has been at New Mexico State for quite a while. Publishes a lot. She's a well-recognized scholar.
Well, I admire all of these people, your clients, because they're willing to stand up for what is right. There's a lot of people watching this show, and they're worried about retaliation and whistleblowing at their own, you know, places of employment. What protection do they have against retaliation by an employer?
Well, I mean, the law prohibits retaliation if somebody has made a complaint of some sort of discrimination. But obviously, I mean, this case is a textbook case of people not following the law. And so I think really what in most cases, the best protection is to go to an outside agency and make a complaint.
And those outside agencies are usually what, the EEOC?
EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is the federal, and then almost every state has a similar state agency.
You will keep us abreast of what happens on this, because our audience is very interested in this, and most importantly, we certainly hope the right thing is done to all these people that you represent.
We do too.
And I want to thank you very much for being on the program today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at InsiderExclusive.com.